Welcome back to another story on Infidelity Tales Lab. Before we begin, tell us, where in the world are you watching from? Now, let's dive into today's story. Chapter 1. The Toast That Changed Everything. Rex Hastings had always been a man who remembered everything. Every slight, every kindness, every moment that mattered. As he stood in the opulent ballroom of the Grandview Country Club, watching his new wife Gwendolyn Charles, now Hastings, dance with her father Philip Charles, he should have felt nothing but joy. Instead, a cold calculation had begun forming in his mind. The wedding had been perfect, at least on the surface. Gwen looked radiant in her designer gown, her auburn hair cascading in perfect waves. The Charles family had spared no expense: crystal chandeliers, imported flowers, and a guest list that read like a who's who of the city's elite. Rex had paid for none of it, a fact that Philip Charles made sure everyone knew. Ladies and gentlemen, if I may have your attention, Glenn Charles, Gwen's younger brother, stood with a champagne flute raised high. At 28, Glenn was everything Rex wasn't: trust fund privileged, Harvard educated, and possessed of the casual cruelty that came with never wanting for anything. The room quieted as Glenn's voice carried across the marble floors. "I'd like to make a toast to my sister and her new husband." His eyes found Rex across the room, a smirk playing at his lips. "You know, when Gwen first told us about Rex, we were surprised. She married down. This guy's been living in his mom's basement since high school." Laughter rippled through the crowd. Rex felt every eye in the room turn to him, saw the mixture of pity and amusement on the faces of Gwen's friends and family. His wife, stood frozen, not defending him, not stopping her brother, just standing there with a tight smile. Philip Charles rose from his seat at the head table, his silver hair gleaming under the lights. "Welcome to the family, loser," he called out, raising his own glass. The laughter grew louder. Rex had lived in his mother's basement for 6 months while he renovated the house he'd bought with cash from his military savings. The house that was now worth $2 million. The house that Gwen had moved into without ever asking about its origins. But they didn't know that. They saw what they wanted to see: a 32-year-old mechanic who worked with his hands, who wore Walmart suits to family dinners, who drove a 15-year-old pickup truck. They never asked why his mother's basement had custom Italian marble, or why he paid cash for everything, or why he never seemed concerned about money despite his modest job. Rex rose slowly from his seat, the laughter beginning to die as all eyes fixed on him. He was a big man, 6'3", with the kind of muscle that came from real work, not gyms. His dark hair was cut military short, and his green eyes held a coldness that made people uncomfortable when they really looked. "Is that really true?" he asked, his voice carrying despite its quiet tone. He pointed to the projector that had been set up for the wedding slideshow. "Watch this." The room went dead silent. Rex had anticipated this moment. He'd known the Charles family would try to humiliate him. They'd been doing it for the 2 years he'd dated Gwen. What they didn't know was that Rex Hastings was not a man who forgave or forgot. And he certainly wasn't a man who took humiliation lying down. He'd been planning this for months. The first image that appeared on the screen was Glenn's college transcript, straight C's despite his Ivy League education. The second was his arrest record, 3 DUIs that Daddy's money had made disappear. The third was more interesting: photos of Glenn with Maddie Watkins, his fiancée's maid of honor, in what appeared to be very intimate circumstances. "Glenn," Rex said conversationally, "tell everyone about your relationship with Maddie. The one that's been going on for 8 months. The one your fiancée, Jessie, doesn't know about." Glenn's face went white. Jessie Cantu, his fiancée, turned to stare at him in horror. But Rex wasn't done. The next slide showed Philip Charles's gambling debts, over $300,000 owed to some very unforgiving people. People who had been remarkably patient thanks to Rex's intervention. "Philip," Rex continued, his voice never rising above a conversational tone, "perhaps you'd like to explain to your wife Eleanor where the money from your retirement fund really went." Eleanor Charles swayed in her seat, one hand pressed to her chest. Rex looked around the room at the shocked faces, at the family who had just finished humiliating him. "You see, when you spend your life assuming people are beneath you, you stop paying attention to who they really are. Chapter 2. The Real Rex Hastings. 3 hours after the reception ended in chaos, Rex sat in his study, the one in the basement that Glenn had mocked, smoking a Cuban cigar and watching the security monitors that covered every inch of his property. Gwen hadn't spoken to him since the slideshow. She'd locked herself in their bedroom, alternating between sobbing phone calls to her mother and what sounded like throwing things. Rex didn't care. He'd met Gwendolyn Charles 2 years ago when she'd brought her Mercedes to his shop. She'd been everything he'd thought he wanted: beautiful, educated, from a good family. She'd also been married to Jason Bailey at the time, though she'd conveniently forgotten to mention that for the first 3 months they dated. Rex had discovered the truth the way he discovered everything, through careful observation and patience. He'd followed her one night, watched her kiss another man goodbye at an expensive restaurant. That man had been Tyler Rivers, her divorce attorney. The same Tyler Rivers who was now handling her divorce from Jason and sleeping with his client. It would have been easy to walk away then. Most men would have. But Rex Hastings wasn't most men. He'd spent 8 years in Army Special Forces, 4 of those in places that didn't exist on any official map. He'd learned patience, planning, and the art of getting revenge on people who thought they were untouchable. So instead of leaving, he'd started planning. The basement study was his sanctuary. Military precision organized everything. File cabinets with detailed dossiers on everyone in Gwen's life, computers with encrypted drives, and a safe containing documents that would destroy half the prominent families in the city. The walls were lined with monitors showing feed from cameras he'd placed throughout the house, in Gwen's car, and in a dozen other strategic locations. Rex had learned early that information was the ultimate weapon. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Nice show tonight. We should meet." A friend. Rex smiled. He'd been expecting this. The friend was Kenneth Atkins, a private investigator who specialized in very discreet services for very dangerous people. Rex had used him before, back when he was still active duty and needed certain problems to disappear quietly. Kenneth had reached out 6 months ago, after Rex had started making inquiries about Tyler Rivers. What Kenneth had found was interesting. Tyler Rivers wasn't just a divorce attorney. He was a specialist in helping wealthy wives disappear their assets before their husbands caught on. He'd perfected a system, seduce the client, manipulate the divorce proceedings, take a cut of the hidden assets, and move on to the next mark. Gwen was just his latest victim, except she thought she was the predator. Rex pulled up the files on his computer. Tyler had used the same pattern with 5 other women over the past 3 years. Each time, the husband had been left financially destroyed while Tyler and his client disappeared with millions. The last husband, Ralph Downey, had ended up so destroyed that he'd eaten his gun in his empty mansion. That's when Rex knew Tyler Rivers had to die. But death was too simple. Rex wanted Tyler to understand what it felt like to lose everything: money, reputation, family, hope. He wanted Tyler to beg for the death that wouldn't come. A sound from upstairs drew his attention to the monitors. Gwen was leaving the bedroom. Phone pressed to her ear. Rex turned up the audio feed. "Can't believe he humiliated my family like that," she was saying. "Tyler, I don't care about the plan anymore. I want him destroyed. I want him to lose everything." Tyler Rivers' voice came through clearly. Rex had upgraded the audio equipment last month. "Baby, calm down. This actually works in our favor. Now we have grounds for emotional distress, maybe even defamation. We can take him for everything and claim he was abusive. How soon can we file? I'll have the papers ready by Monday. We'll hit him with divorce, restraining order, and a lawsuit all at once. By the time I'm done with him, he'll be lucky if he keeps that stupid truck." Rex leaned back in his chair, still smiling. They had no idea what they were walking into. He pulled up another file on his computer, the real Rex Hastings. The one who'd inherited $2 million from his grandfather's oil investments. The one who'd turned that into $20 million through careful investments and some very profitable contracts during his military service. The one who owned the auto shop where he worked, plus 3 others across the state. The one who'd bought Gwen's dream house in cash just to watch her fall in love with it. The one who'd been planning her destruction since the day he found out about Tyler Rivers. Chapter 3. The Setup. Monday morning arrived gray and cold, matching Rex's mood as he prepared for war. He'd spent the weekend watching Gwen and Tyler through his surveillance network, documenting every conversation, every plan, every detail of their scheme to destroy him. They were good. He had to give them credit. Tyler had convinced 3 of Gwen's friends to sign affidavits claiming they'd witnessed Rex being emotionally abusive and controlling. Sherry Mayo, Gwen's college roommate, even claimed Rex had threatened her at a dinner party last month. The fact that Rex had never spoken to Sherry beyond polite greetings didn't seem to matter. But Rex had something they didn't expect: time and preparation. He'd known this day was coming for months. Every conversation with Gwen had been calculated, every gift a strategic move, every moment of their marriage a chess piece position for this endgame. While they thought they were manipulating him, he'd been orchestrating their downfall. The auto shop was busy when Rex arrived, but he barely noticed the customers or his employees. His mind was focused on the files he'd been assembling, the evidence he'd been gathering, the trap he'd been setting. "Boss, you okay?" asked Darren Henry, his shop foreman. Darren was one of the few people who knew Rex's real background. They'd served together in Afghanistan before Darren lost his leg to an IED. "You look like you're about to kill someone." "Not kill," Rex said quietly. "Something worse." At 10:30, a process server arrived with the divorce papers. Rex read them while drinking coffee, noting every lie, every exaggeration, every legal maneuver Tyler thought would work. The man was good. The papers painted Rex as an unstable, abusive husband who trapped an innocent woman in a nightmare marriage. If a judge saw only these papers, Rex would lose everything. But Rex had insurance. He picked up his phone and dialed a number he'd memorized months ago. "Christoph, it's Rex. Is your offer still good?" Christoph Archer was what polite people called a debt collector and what realistic people called a loan shark. He was also the man who owned Philip Charles's gambling debts, debts that Rex had quietly purchased last month for 70 cents on the dollar. "Rex, my friend, of course. When do you want me to collect?" "Tonight. Make it memorable, but don't permanently damage him. I need him functional for what comes next. Consider it done." "What about the interest payments you've been making?" "Stop them. Let him know exactly how much trouble he's in." Rex's next call was to Kenneth Atkins. "Kenneth, I need you to deliver some packages today. To every law firm in the city. Make sure Tyler Rivers knows they're coming." The packages contained copies of Tyler's files on his previous victims, along with documented evidence of his pattern of fraud. Rex had spent months gathering the evidence, tracking down ruined husbands, building an ironclad case that would destroy Tyler's career and land him in prison. But prison wasn't enough. Rex's final call was to someone who didn't have a name, just a number. The voice that answered spoke with a slight accent that could have been Eastern European or Middle Eastern. It was deliberately hard to place. "Rex Hastings. How interesting. I wonder when you would call. Is the girl still available?" "Lynn?" "Yes, though she's become quite expensive since her last assignment." Lynn Chung was what the intelligence community called a honey trap, a specialist in seducing targets and extracting information. Rex had worked with her once during a black operation in Thailand. She was beautiful, brilliant, and absolutely without conscience when it came to her work. "I need her to get close to Tyler Rivers. Complete infiltration. Make him fall in love. Make him trust her. Make him tell her everything. Timeline. She has 2 weeks to make contact, 1 month to gain his trust. After that, I'll give you the endgame. Payment, $200,000, plus a bonus if she's willing to go further than usual." "How much further?" Rex smiled coldly. "As far as necessary." After hanging up, Rex returned to reading Tyler's divorce filing. The man had been thorough: claims of emotional abuse, financial manipulation, threats against Gwen's family. All lies, but well-crafted lies that would be hard to disprove in court. What Tyler didn't know was that Rex had been recording everything for months. Every conversation, every argument, every intimate moment between Tyler and Gwen. The cameras in their house weren't just for security, they were insurance policies. But more than that, Rex had spent 2 years studying Tyler Rivers the way a sniper studies a target. He knew Tyler's weaknesses, his fears, his guilty secrets. He knew about Tyler's cocaine habit, carefully hidden from his law partners. He knew about Tyler's gambling problem, worse than Philip Charles's. He knew about the trust fund Tyler had embezzled from his own mother, thinking she'd never notice because of her dementia. Most importantly, Rex knew about Tyler's real father, the one Tyler thought no one knew about, the one who would be very interested to learn he had a son, the one who ran the most feared crime family on the East Coast. Rex had been saving that particular revelation for the right moment. As he closed the divorce files, Rex felt the familiar calm that came before action. He'd spent months in preparation, and now the war was beginning. Gwen and Tyler thought they were hunters, but they'd made one crucial mistake. They'd chosen to hunt the apex predator. Chapter 4. The Trap Springs. 2 weeks after the divorce papers were served, Rex watched from his surveillance center as his plan began to unfold. Tyler Rivers was about to have the worst day of his life, and he didn't even know it yet. Lin Sheng had exceeded Rex's expectations. Within 5 days, she'd accidentally bumped into Tyler at his favorite coffee shop, spilling espresso all over his expensive suit. By day 7, they were having dinner at the city's most exclusive restaurant. By day 14, Tyler was canceling meetings with Gwen to spend time with his new obsession. Rex watched the feed from the camera Lin had planted in Tyler's downtown penthouse. Tyler was pacing, phone pressed to his ear, while Lin lounged on his Italian leather sofa, wearing nothing but one of his shirts. "Gwen, I told you, something came up," Tyler was saying. "We can discuss the deposition prep tomorrow." Gwen's voice came through clearly, sharp with anger. "Tyler, I'm paying you a fortune to destroy my husband, not to chase after some Asian girl you picked up in a coffee shop." Rex smiled. Racial slurs weren't a good look in divorce proceedings, especially when they were being recorded. "Don't talk about Lynn that way," Tyler snapped. "And don't tell me how to do my job. I've been handling divorces since before you knew what a prenup was. Maybe I should find a new attorney. Good luck. After what your husband pulled at the wedding, no decent firm in the city will touch you." Tyler hung up and turned to Lynn, who was pretending to read a magazine. "Sorry about that, baby. Client drama." Lynn looked up with perfectly crafted concern. "The woman from the other night?" She seemed intense. "Gwen's just stressed. Her husband turned out to be more than she bargained for." "What do you mean?" Tyler sat beside her, running his hand through her long black hair. "Let's just say Rex Hastings isn't the simple mechanic everyone thought he was. The man has resources we didn't expect. Resources, money, information, the kind of connections that make problems disappear." Lynn moved closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. "That sounds dangerous. Are you safe?" "I'm fine. I've handled worse than Rex Hastings." Rex laughed at that. Tyler had no idea what he was dealing with. The intercom in Rex's study buzzed. "Boss, Kenneth's here," came Darren's voice. "Send him down." Kenneth Atkins descended into the study carrying a thick manila folder. The private investigator looked tired but satisfied, the expression of a man who'd been up all night gathering dirt. "You're going to love this," Kenneth said, dropping the folder on Rex's desk. Tyler Rivers just made the biggest mistake of his life. Rex opened the folder and began reading. The first document was a bank statement showing a $2 million transfer from Tyler's trust account to an offshore bank in the Cayman Islands. The second was a recorded phone conversation between Tyler and a man named Bobby Bennett, discussing the laundering of money from a construction fraud scheme. "How did you get this?" Rex asked. "Tyler's been using a new accountant, Mitchell Doherty. Mitchell's good at hiding money, but he's better at keeping records for insurance." When I explained that Tyler was about to be investigated by both the FBI and the State Bar Association, Mitchell decided cooperation was his best option. Rex continued reading. Tyler hadn't just been stealing from divorce clients. He'd been running a complex fraud operation involving construction contracts, environmental cleanup funds, and insurance settlements. The man had stolen over $15 million in the past 3 years. "There's more," Kenneth said. "Tyler's been blackmailing some of his clients. Remember Renee Vasquez, the pharmaceutical heiress who divorced her husband last year?" Rex nodded. The Vasquez divorce had been front-page news, a bitter battle that ended with the husband getting almost nothing. Tyler has videos of her killing her first husband. Made it look like a heart attack, but she used a rare poison that Tyler helped her obtain. He's been bleeding her for $2 million a year to keep quiet. Rex set down the documents. How many people has this man destroyed? Directly? At least 20 families. Indirectly? Hundreds. The construction fraud alone put 3 companies out of business. 400 jobs lost. Rex felt the cold anger building in his chest. Tyler Rivers wasn't just a criminal. He was a predator who destroyed lives for profit. The kind of man Rex had been trained to eliminate. Kenneth, I need you to compile everything into 3 packages. 1 goes to the FBI, 1 to the district attorney, and 1 to the State Bar Association. But don't deliver them yet. What's the timeline? I want Tyler to understand what's coming. Give him the fear first, then the consequences. Rex's phone buzzed with a text from Lynn. T confessed to GW affair. Says she was supposed to be quick mark, but turned into liability. Planning to frame her for emotional abuse claims. Wants her psychiatric evaluation to show instability. Will testify against her if needed. Rex smiled. Tyler Rivers was about to learn that betraying your conspirators was a dangerous game. But before Rex could respond to Lynn, his security system chimed with an alert. Someone was approaching the house. The monitors showed Gwen's Mercedes pulling into the driveway, followed by a police cruiser. Rex watched as Gwen got out of her car and spoke to the uniformed officers. She was animated, gesturing toward the house, clearly upset about something. After a brief conversation, she led the officers to the front door. The doorbell rang. Rex checked his appearance in the mirror, grease-stained work shirt, old jeans, the image of a simple mechanic. He climbed the stairs and opened the door with a confused expression. Mr. Hastings? The older officer was polite but wary. I'm Officer Jesus Rocha. This is Officer Edwin McCann. We've had a complaint about some disturbing materials found on your wife's computer. Rex frowned. What kind of materials? Gwen stepped forward, her face a mask of righteous indignation. Don't act innocent, Rex. The photographs, the surveillance videos, the files about my family and friends. My attorney says it's stalking and harassment. I'm sorry, officers, but I don't know what she's talking about. Officer Rocha held up a tablet, showing what appeared to be screenshots from Rex's surveillance system. Mr. Hastings, these appear to be from cameras placed in your home without your wife's knowledge or consent. That's illegal in this state. Rex examined the images, his expression shifting from confusion to understanding to anger. Officers, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Those cameras were installed for our security system, with my wife's full knowledge and consent. That's a lie. Gwen snapped. Gwen, Rex said calmly. Remember when we had the break-in last year? You specifically asked me to install cameras in every room so you'd feel safe. The officers looked between them, clearly uncertain. Mr. Hastings, Officer McCann said, we're going to need to see the original security system documentation and any consent forms. Of course. Please come in. As they entered the house, Rex smiled inwardly. Gwen had just made another critical mistake. By involving the police, she'd opened the door for Rex to reveal exactly what his cameras had recorded. And what they'd recorded would destroy her. Chapter 5. The News Titans. The police had been gone for 2 hours, but the damage was done. Officer Rocha had taken copies of the security system documentation, all perfectly legal, along with Gwen's signed consent forms and several sample videos that showed her explicitly approving the camera locations. What the officers hadn't seen were the recordings Rex planned to release at the right moment. Now Rex sat in his study, watching multiple feeds as his enemies made mistake after mistake. On one screen, Tyler was having a heated phone conversation with someone at his law firm. On another, Gwen was at her parents' house, screaming at her mother while Philip cowered in his study. On a third, Lynn was photographing documents from Tyler's home safe. It was beautiful orchestration. Rex's secure phone rang. The number only 3 people in the world knew. Hastings. Rex, it's Orlando Newton. The voice belonged to his former commanding officer, now a deputy director at the Department of Defense. I got a message. Are you sure you want to use this asset? I'm sure. Adam Wynn is not a subtle man, Rex. When he moves against a target, there's usually nothing left. That's exactly what I need. Orlando was quiet for a moment. The target has family, a mother with dementia in a care facility. She's the only innocent in this equation. She'll be protected, but everyone else. I understand. 24 hours, Rex. After that, this conversation never happened. Rex hung up and turned his attention back to the monitors. Tyler had finished his phone call and was now pouring himself a large scotch, his third since the police visit. Lynn was curled up beside him, running her fingers through his hair while he ranted. That bastard is playing games with me, Tyler was saying. First the wedding slideshow, now police at his door. He's trying to provoke me. Maybe you should walk away, Lynn suggested. Find an easier target. No, I've invested too much time in this. Besides, Gwen's loaded. Her family has money going back generations. What if he has more resources than you think? Tyler laughed bitterly. He's a mechanic, Lynn. He lives in his mother's basement and drives a pickup truck. Whatever money he had for that slideshow, it's probably gone. Rex made a note to send Tyler a gift, something that would show him exactly how wrong he was. His regular phone buzzed with a text from Kenneth. Package delivered to Tyler's office. Partners calling emergency meeting. Bar Association launching investigation. FBI requesting interview. Perfect timing. Rex pulled up Tyler's office cameras. Kenneth had installed them during a security consultation last month. The feed showed Tyler's law partners, Philip Gifford and Jerry Gillespie, waiting in the conference room while Tyler paced outside, phone pressed to his ear. I don't care what the FBI wants, Tyler was shouting into the phone. This is a witch hunt orchestrated by client's husband. It's all fabricated. Through the conference room window, Rex could see Philip Gifford reviewing the evidence Kenneth had compiled. The man's face was growing paler by the page. Tyler, Jerry called out, get in here. Now, Tyler entered the conference room and closed the door. Rex turned up the audio. Sit down, Philip said quietly. We need to talk about these allegations. They're all lies, Philip. Rex Hastings is. Tyler. Jerry's voice was deadly calm. Did you or did you not steal $2 million from the Vasquez estate? That's ridiculous. Because we have bank records showing transfers from our trust account to offshore banks in the Cayman Islands. Transfers that you authorized. Tyler's face went white. That's for legitimate case expenses. $2 million in case expenses. Philip stood up. Tyler, we've been partners for 8 years. I've known you since law school. Don't lie to my face. I can explain. Explain this, Jerry said, sliding a photograph across the table. This is you meeting with Bobby Bennett last month. Bobby Bennett, who's currently under investigation for construction fraud. The same Bobby Bennett who's named in these FBI documents as a co-conspirator. Tyler sank into his chair. You don't understand. I got over my head. These people, they don't take no for an answer. What people? The ones Bobby works for. They needed someone to launder money through legal settlements. They said if I didn't help, they'd kill me. Rex laughed softly. Tyler was telling the truth, but only part of it. He'd volunteered for the money laundering operation, seeing it as an easy way to make millions. The death threats had come later, when he tried to negotiate a bigger cut. Tyler, Philip said slowly, are you telling us that this law firm has been used to launder money for organized crime? It's not that simple. Answer the question. Yes, Tyler whispered. But I can fix this. I can make it all go away. How? Rex Hastings. He's the one who gave this information to the FBI. If something happens to him, if he has an accident or disappears, the investigation dies with him. The room went dead silent. Rex leaned forward, making sure his recording equipment was capturing every word. Tyler, Jerry said very carefully, are you suggesting we murder a client's husband? I'm suggesting we protect ourselves by any means necessary. Philip Gifford stood up and walked to the door. Security, please escort Mr. Rivers from the building. He's no longer a partner in this firm. Philip, wait. Don't. Jerry was gathering the files from the table. Don't say another word. You've destroyed this firm, Tyler. 20 years of building a reputation, gone because you got greedy. Security guards entered and flanked Tyler. As they let him out, he looked back at his former partners. This isn't over. Rex Hastings is going to pay for what he's done. Rex smiled and made another note. Tyler had just threatened to murder him in front of witnesses. That would be useful in court. But court was the least of Tyler's problems now. Rex picked up his secure phone and dialed Adam Wynn's number. It's time. Understood. The target. Tyler Rivers, downtown penthouse, probably armed and definitely dangerous. Consider him hostile. Rules of engagement. No permanent damage yet. I want him functional but scared. Make him understand that his life belongs to me now. Copy that. What about the woman he's with? Rex glanced at the monitor, showing Lynn curled up on Tyler's couch. She's one of ours. Extract her safely. 20 minutes. Rex hung up and settled back to watch the show. Tyler Rivers was about to learn what happened when you threatened Rex Hastings. And this was just the beginning. Chapter 6. The Hunter Becomes Prey. Tyler Rivers was drunk, angry, and making increasingly poor decisions. Exactly where Rex wanted him. The penthouse cameras showed Tyler pacing like a caged animal, bottle of scotch in one hand, phone in the other. He'd been calling contacts all evening, trying to find someone willing to handle his Rex Hastings problem. So far, he'd struck out. The kind of people who solve problems with violence weren't eager to work with someone under FBI investigation. Lynn sat on the couch, watching Tyler with carefully crafted concern. She'd already planted 3 additional recording devices around the apartment and photographed every document in Tyler's safe. More importantly, she'd convinced Tyler to tell her everything. His crimes, his plans, his desperate schemes to escape the trap closing around him. Rex's phone buzzed with a text from Adam Wynn. In position. Ready on your signal. Not yet. Rex wanted Tyler to dig the hole a little deeper first. Baby, come sit down, Lynn called out. You're making me nervous. Tyler collapsed beside her, reeking of alcohol. I'm sorry, sweetheart. This is just... everything's falling apart. Tell me what's happening. Maybe I can help. Tyler laughed bitterly. Unless you know someone who can make the FBI disappear, I don't think so. What did you do? What didn't I do? Tyler took another drink. Fraud, money laundering, blackmail, theft. I've been stealing from clients for years, Lynn. Millions of dollars. Oh my God. And now, some mechanic, some fucking nobody, has destroyed everything. Rex Hastings uploaded my entire life to the FBI like it was a goddamn email attachment. Lynn moved closer, her hand on Tyler's chest. Who is he really? This Rex? I don't know. Tyler slammed the bottle down. Gwen says he's just a mechanic who lives with his mother, but mechanics don't have the resources to do what he's done. Mechanics don't have FBI connections. What are you going to do? Tyler was quiet for a long moment, staring out at the city lights. I'm going to kill him. Tyler, I'm serious. It's him or me now. If Rex Hastings dies, the investigation dies with him. His evidence becomes hearsay, his recordings inadmissible. I can claim he was stalking and harassing me, that he fabricated everything out of jealousy. What about Gwen? She'll back me up. She hates him more than I do now. Rex texted Adam. Subject just confessed to planned murder. Move in 60 seconds. On the monitor, Tyler was pulling a gun from a drawer, a chrome-plated .45 that he probably thought looked intimidating. He was checking the magazine when the lights in his penthouse suddenly went out. Emergency lighting kicked in, casting everything in an eerie red glow. What the hell? Tyler stood up, gun in hand. Lynn, get behind me. But Lynn was gone. Tyler spun around, searching for her in the dim light. Lynn? Lynn. A voice came from the darkness, low, calm, professional. Mr. Rivers, please place the weapon on the floor. Who's there? Tyler raised the gun, hands shaking. I'm armed. I know. Place the weapon on the floor and step away from it. Fuck you. The sound that followed was like nothing Tyler had ever heard. A soft whistle, then a solid thunk. The gun flew from his hands as a knife buried itself in the wall an inch from his fingers. Adam Wynn stepped into the red light, like something from a nightmare. 6'6", built like a linebacker, with scars covering half his face and dead black eyes that had seen too much death. He wore all black, tactical gear and moved with the predatory grace of an apex predator. Mr. Rivers, Adam said conversationally, my employer would like to have a conversation with you. Tyler tried to run. He made it 3 steps before Adam's hand clamped down on his shoulder, stopping him like he'd hit a brick wall. Please don't make this difficult. Who are you? What do you want? I'm the man your actions have summoned, Mr. Rivers. As for what I want, Adam smiled, showing teeth filed to points. I want you to understand that your life now belongs to Rex Hastings. Tyler tried to swing at Adam and found himself on the floor, arm twisted behind his back in a hold that sent lightning up his spine. Good. Now we can talk. Adam dragged Tyler to a chair and zip-tied his hands behind his back. Then he pulled out a tablet and set it on the coffee table. Rex's face appeared on the screen. "Hello, Tyler," Rex said calmly. "I thought it was time we had a proper conversation." "You son of a bitch." Tyler struggled against the zip ties. "Do you have any idea who you're fucking with? A small-time lawyer who's been stealing from his clients to pay gambling debts? A pathetic man who's been blackmailing widows and destroying family for profit? Yes, Tyler, I know exactly who you are. I'll destroy you. I'll take everything you have." Rex laughed. "With what? Your law license is gone. Your firm has disowned you. The FBI has enough evidence to send you to prison for the rest of your life. Your offshore accounts have been frozen. And the people you were laundering money for? They're not very happy with you right now." Tyler's face went white. "How do you know about Bobby Bennett? About the construction fraud? About the $15 million you've stolen?" Rex's expression never changed. "Tyler, I've known everything about you since the day you started sleeping with my wife." "That's impossible. Is it? Tell me. Tyler, how long do you think it takes to destroy a man's life when you have unlimited resources and no conscience?" Adam leaned down close to Tyler's ear. "The answer is however long Mr. Hastings wants it to take." "What do you want?" Tyler's voice was barely a whisper. "I want you to understand that this is just the beginning," Rex said. "Tonight, you're going to disappear for a while. When you come back, you're going to do exactly what I tell you to do." "I won't." "You will. Because the alternative is much worse than prison, Tyler. The alternative is what happens when Bobby Bennett's bosses find out you've been skimming from their money laundering operation." Tyler slumped in the chair, finally understanding the depth of his situation. "Sleep well, Tyler," Rex said as the screen went dark. "Tomorrow, we begin your real education." Adam picked up Tyler like he weighed nothing and headed for the door. As they left, Rex could see Lynn emerging from the stairwell, perfectly safe and carrying a bag of additional evidence. Phase 1 was complete. Now the real fun could begin. Chapter 7. The Education of Tyler Rivers. Tyler Rivers had been missing for 72 hours when he finally understood that Rex Hastings was not just another angry husband. He sat in a windowless room that could have been anywhere: a basement, a warehouse, an abandoned building. His chair was bolted to the floor, and despite his best efforts, he couldn't break free from the restraints. Worse, he was starting to suspect that escape wasn't the real problem. The real problem was what Rex had planned for him. Adam entered carrying a tray of food and a laptop. He set both down without a word and activated the computer. Rex's face appeared on the screen, and Tyler noticed he was wearing a different shirt than yesterday. Time was passing in the real world while Tyler sat in this nightmare. "Good morning, Tyler. I trust you're beginning to appreciate your situation." "Let me go," Tyler croaked. His throat was raw from screaming for help that never came. "I will. Eventually. But first, you're going to help me with something." The laptop screen split, showing Rex on one side and what appeared to be a live video feed on the other. Tyler recognized the location immediately. It was Gwen's parents' house. "Your former client is having a difficult week," Rex said conversationally. "The police returned yesterday with a warrant to search her car. Apparently, someone tipped them off about drug residue in the trunk." Tyler watched in horror as officers led Gwen away in handcuffs. She was screaming, fighting against the restraints, looking nothing like the composed woman he'd been sleeping with. "Cocaine possession is a serious charge," Rex continued, "especially when it's found in conjunction with evidence of distribution. Those text messages between you and Gwen about powder and deliveries look quite incriminating to prosecutors. Those were about construction materials for her renovation project. Were they? Because the phone records show those conversations happening at the same time as documented drug purchases from Bobby Bennett's associates." Tyler's blood ran cold. "You planted evidence. Did I? Or did I simply document what was already there?" Rex's smile was terrifying in its calmness. You see, Tyler, when you've been stealing from drug dealers, they tend to use your services for other things, like moving product through your legitimate business operations. The video feed switched to show Glenn Charles being arrested at his office. He was crying, begging the officers to contact his lawyer. Glenn's been charged with fraud and embezzlement from his own company, Rex explained. Apparently, he's been stealing from employee pension funds to pay gambling debts. The evidence is quite conclusive. You're destroying innocent people. Rex's expression didn't change. Innocent? Glenn Charles stole $2 million from people who trusted him. Your wife has been using your relationship to funnel drugs through her family's legitimate businesses. And Philip Charles. The feed switched again, showing Philip being loaded into an ambulance. Well, Philip just had a very serious conversation with some people about his gambling debts. Is he dead? Broken legs, broken arms, but alive. Christoph's people are professionals. They know how to send a message without creating a corpse. Tyler was beginning to understand the scope of what Rex had orchestrated. This wasn't just revenge, it was systematic destruction. What do you want from me? Your cooperation. You're going to help me finish this. I won't. You will, Rex interrupted. Because if you don't, the video of you confessing to Renee Vasquez's murder goes to the FBI today. Tyler went white. What video? The laptop screen showed Tyler in his penthouse, drunk and angry, telling Lynn about his blackmail schemes. But this wasn't the conversation Tyler remembered. In this version, he was confessing to helping Renee poison her first husband. That's not. I never said that. Didn't you? The audio is quite clear. Modern technology makes it very easy to create convincing evidence. Tyler, especially when the source material is extensive. Tyler realized he was looking at deepfake technology, sophisticated enough to fool anyone who was an expert. Rex had taken hours of recorded conversations and created a confession that would destroy Tyler's life. Here's what's going to happen, Rex continued. You're going to sign a confession detailing every crime you've committed. You're going to implicate everyone you've worked with. And you're going to transfer what's left of your hidden assets to a charity of my choosing. And if I refuse, then you go to prison for murder. Your remaining family members have tragic accidents. And the people you've been stealing from learn exactly where you are. Adam placed a pen and legal documents in front of Tyler. The confession was already prepared, typed in perfect legal language, detailing crimes Tyler hadn't even remembered committing. You have 1 hour to decide, Rex said. Choose wisely. The screen went dark, leaving Tyler alone with his thoughts and the weight of his choices. In his study, Rex watched Tyler through the surveillance cameras, noting every micro-expression, every sign of psychological pressure. The man was breaking down exactly as planned. Rex's phone buzzed with a text from Lynn. Mission complete. Tyler's accounts accessed. Total recovery, $18.2 million. Another text, this one from Kenneth. FBI took the bait. Federal task force forming. RICO charges pending. And finally, one from Adam. Subject ready for phase 2. Orders. Rex smiled and began typing his response. Tyler Rivers was about to learn that signing the confession was just the beginning of his education. The real lessons were about to start. Chapter 8, the final lesson. Tyler signed the confession after 47 minutes, his hand shaking so badly that his signature was barely legible. He'd read every page twice, understanding that his name on that document meant life in prison even if Rex kept his other promises. But Rex Hastings wasn't finished with him yet. Excellent choice, Rex said when the laptop screen flickered back to life. Now, for phase 2 of your education. I did what you asked. Let me go. Tyler, we haven't even begun to address your real crimes yet. The screen split again, but this time it showed surveillance footage from Ralph Downey's house, the husband who'd killed himself after Tyler destroyed his life. The timestamp showed the day before Ralph's suicide. Tell me about Ralph Downey, Rex said. I don't know what you mean. You don't? Because this video shows you at his house, having what appears to be a very heated conversation. What were you discussing, Tyler? Tyler watched in horror as the footage showed him arguing with a broken man in an empty mansion. Ralph looked like he hadn't slept in weeks, like he'd lost everything that mattered to him. He was threatening to expose my methods. I had to make sure he understood the consequences. The consequences of what? Of talking to the media, of telling people how I'd manipulated his divorce. And what did you tell him those consequences would be? Tyler was quiet for a long moment. I told him that if he tried to destroy me, I'd make sure he never saw his children again. His children who were already living across the country with their mother? Yes. His children who had been told by their mother that their father was a dangerous criminal who couldn't be trusted? Yes. His children who were never going to see him again, anyway. Tyler's voice was barely a whisper. Yes. So you threatened a suicidal man with losing the only thing he had left to hope for. The next day, he put a gun in his mouth. That wasn't my fault, wasn't it? Rex's voice remained calm, but Tyler could hear the deadly cold underneath. You destroyed his marriage, stole his money, turned his children against him, and then threatened to make sure he'd never see them again. What exactly did you think would happen? Tyler was crying now, understanding for the first time the full weight of what he'd done. I never meant for him to kill himself, but you did mean to destroy him completely. You did mean to take everything that made his life worth living. Yes, Tyler whispered. Good. That's the first honest thing you've said. The video feed changed to show a new location, a cemetery. Rex was standing beside a fresh grave, flowers in his hand. I visited Ralph's grave yesterday, Rex said. Do you know what I found there? Tyler shook his head. Nothing. No flowers, no visitors, no signs that anyone remembered he existed. His children refused to come to the funeral. His ex-wife held a party the day he died. You didn't just kill Ralph Downey, Tyler. You erased him. Rex set the flowers on the grave and looked directly into the camera. That's when I decided that destroying your life wasn't enough. Tyler felt ice water in his veins. What do you mean? I mean that you're going to experience exactly what Ralph experienced. Every feeling, every loss, every moment of despair that led him to put that gun in his mouth. You can't. Can't I? Tell me, Tyler, how long do you think a man like you would last in general population at a federal prison? The implication hit Tyler like a physical blow. Rex wasn't just sending him to prison. He was sending him to die. But I have a better idea, Rex continued. Something more educational. Adam entered the room, carrying what appeared to be a doctor's bag. Tyler tried to struggle as Adam prepared a syringe. Don't worry, Rex said. It's not poison. It's a very special cocktail designed by some very talented chemists. You're going to experience every emotion that Ralph Downey felt in his final weeks. The despair, the hopelessness, the crushing weight of having lost everything that mattered. That's insane, is it? You seem to think driving people to suicide is acceptable business practice. I'm simply giving you a more direct education in the consequences. The needle went into Tyler's arm before he could protest further. The beautiful thing about modern pharmacology, Rex explained as Tyler began to feel the effects, is that we can induce specific emotional states with remarkable precision. Over the next few hours, you're going to feel exactly what your victims felt. Tyler's vision began to blur, and a crushing sense of despair settled over him like a physical weight. Every mistake he'd ever made, every person he'd hurt, every moment of cruelty seemed magnified until it was unbearable. Please, he whispered, make it stop. No, Rex said simply. This is your education, Tyler. This is what it feels like to be on the receiving end of your particular brand of justice. Hours passed, or maybe days. Tyler couldn't tell anymore. The drugs made time elastic, stretching moments of despair into eternities. He found himself thinking about Ralph Downey, understanding for the first time what that final day must have been like. When the effects finally began to wear off, Tyler was a broken man. He looked up at the camera with hollow eyes. I understand, he whispered. Do you? I'm going to prison. I'm going to die there, and no one will remember me. That's right. But first, you have one more job to do. Tyler didn't ask what it was. He no longer had the strength to fight. You're going to call a press conference, Rex explained. You're going to confess to everything, every crime, every victim, every life you've destroyed. You're going to make sure the families you've hurt get some measure of justice. And then you disappear forever. Rex's image faded from the screen, leaving Tyler alone with the weight of his choices and the crushing knowledge that Rex Hastings had won completely. In his study, Rex watched Tyler's broken form on the monitor and felt no satisfaction, no joy, no sense of victory. This had never been about feeling good. It had been about balance. The scales were finally even. Chapter 9. The Last Laugh. 6 months later, Rex Hastings stood in his renovated garage, watching the sunset through clean windows while classic rock played softly in the background. The space had been transformed. No longer a working auto shop, but a showroom for his collection of restored muscle cars. The Camaro he was polishing had belonged to Ralph Downey. Rex had bought it from the estate sale and spent months bringing it back to its former glory. The Tyler Rivers case had closed 3 weeks ago with a guilty plea to 47 federal charges. Tyler had kept his word about the press conference, confessing to crimes spanning a decade and implicating dozens of co-conspirators. The man who emerged from that windowless room bore little resemblance to the arrogant attorney who'd stolen millions from desperate families. Tyler was serving consecutive life sentences in a maximum security federal prison. Rex had made sure he was placed in general population, exactly as promised. According to Kenneth's contacts in the prison system, Tyler spent 23 hours a day in protective custody after 3 separate attempts on his life. The other hour was spent in a concrete exercise yard, alone, counting down the days until someone finally succeeded in killing him. Rex felt no sympathy. Gwen had lasted 2 months in county jail before hanging herself with a bedsheet. Her suicide note blamed Rex for destroying her family, claiming he'd manipulated her into the affair with Tyler. The note conveniently omitted her plans to steal his assets or her drug distribution activities. Rex had attended the funeral, standing in the back while Philip Charles, wheelchair-bound and broken, buried his daughter. Glenn Charles had disappeared entirely. Officially, he'd fled the country to avoid prosecution for pension fraud. Unofficially, he'd made the mistake of trying to blackmail one of Bobby Bennett's associates and had been dissolved in acid at a chemical processing plant outside the city. Rex neither confirmed nor denied his involvement in Glenn's fate. Philip Charles lived in a nursing home now, his gambling debts having consumed what remained of the family fortune. His broken bones had healed badly, leaving him unable to walk without assistance. Eleanor visited him twice a week, though she'd filed for divorce and moved in with her sister. The Charles family legacy, 3 generations of social prominence, had died with Gwen. The doorbell chimed, interrupting Rex's thoughts. Security monitors showed Kenneth Atkins at the front door, carrying a bottle of expensive scotch and wearing the satisfied expression of a man whose work was finally complete. "Kenneth," Rex said, opening the door. "Right on time. The FBI closed the last of the Tyler Rivers investigations today," Kenneth said, following Rex back to the garage. 73 arrests, 24 convictions, over $40 million in recovered assets. They're calling it the biggest white-collar crime bust in state history. Good. Kenneth poured 2 glasses of scotch and handed one to Rex. The families Tyler destroyed have been made whole. The Downey children received full restitution plus damages. Most of the other victims got their money back with interest. What about the money Tyler had hidden offshore? Every penny recovered. Lynn's work was exceptional. She got access to accounts Tyler thought were completely secure. Rex nodded. Lynn Chung had disappeared after the operation concluded, presumably back to whatever shadow organization employed her. She'd left behind a single note: payment received. Pleasure doing business. Speaking of payments, Kenneth continued. Adams sent his final report. Tyler Rivers was found dead in his cell this morning. Rex felt nothing at the news. Ow! Officially? Heart attack. Unofficially? Someone slipped him a very specific cocktail of drugs that mimicked the symptoms of cardiac arrest. The same cocktail that was used on Ralph Downey's first wife all those years ago. Poetic justice. Tyler had died the same way his blackmail victim had killed her husband. Any loose ends? Rex asked. None. Bobby Bennett's entire organization is either dead or in federal custody. The corruption at Tyler's law firm led to investigations of half the judges in the state. The Charles family assets have been distributed to creditors and charity. It's over, Rex. Rex raises glass. To Ralph Downey. To Ralph Downey, Kenneth agreed. They drank in comfortable silence for a while, watching the sun disappear behind the mountains. Finally, Kenneth spoke again. What now? You've spent 2 years orchestrating the most comprehensive revenge in criminal history. What does Rex Hastings do for an encore? Rex smiled, the first genuine smile Kenneth had seen from him in months. I disappear. What do you mean? Rex Hastings, the mechanic, dies in a tragic accident next week. Car explosion. Body too damaged to identify. Closed casket funeral. Very sad. Kenneth raised an eyebrow. And then I become someone else. Someone with a different name, a different history, a different life. The military taught you well. The military taught me that sometimes the only way to win is to disappear completely. Rex walked to a filing cabinet and pulled out a thick folder. Inside were multiple passports, driver's licenses, credit cards, and birth certificates, all with his photo, all completely legitimate, all with different names. I've been preparing for this day since I came home from overseas, Rex explained. Multiple identities, hidden assets, clean extraction routes. By tomorrow night, Rex Hastings will be a ghost. Where will you go? Somewhere warm. Somewhere no one knows my story. Kenneth finished his scotch and stood to leave. It's been an honor working with you, Rex. If you ever need anything, I won't, but thank you. After Kenneth left, Rex returned to polishing Ralph Downey's Camaro. The car was perfect now, every chrome detail gleaming, the engine purring like a predator. Tomorrow, he'd drive it to the cemetery and leave it at Ralph's grave with the keys in the ignition. Someone who appreciated classic cars would find it and give it a good home. Rex's phone buzzed with a final text from an unknown number. The wedding reception was 6 months ago. Did you get the last laugh? Rex smiled and typed his response. The laughter hasn't even started yet. The next morning, local news reported a tragic explosion at Hastings Custom Auto. The owner, Rex Hastings, was presumed dead. His body was never recovered. 3,000 miles away, a man with Rex's face but different identification papers bought a small house on a beach where the sunsets painted the sky in shades of gold and red. He paid cash, introduced himself to the neighbors as a retired veteran, and settled into a quiet life of fishing and reading. Sometimes, late at night, he would think about the wedding reception where Glenn Charles had called him a loser and Philip Charles had welcomed him to the family with mockery. He would remember the moment when he'd stood up and pointed to the projector when the room had gone dead silent. That silence had been worth everything that followed. Rex Hastings had gotten the last laugh after all, but more importantly, he'd gotten justice. And sometimes that was enough. And there you have it. Another story comes to an end. What did you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this story, consider joining our community by subscribing. It means the world to us. For more stories like this one, check out the recommended videos on screen. And I'll see you there.